The Pacific Musical Society is pleased to present this Ruth Slenczynska interview as the first in a series with treasured artists of the 20th century who have deep connections to the great teachers and performers of the past.
I worked with Mr. Rachmaninoff. Now, of course, I didn't work on his second concerto with him. I was 9 years old, 10 years old. I worked on preludes with him, his own preludes. A little later on, I played his concertos. And I was engaged by a maestro von Mengelberg, who conducted the Concertgebouw Orchestra in Amsterdam. Now, remember, I'm just a little kid, and I was playing for the first time the second concerto of Rachmaninoff. And I was in awe. I loved that music. It was just the most wonderful, glamorous thing in the world to me to be playing those themes. And I realized that Mr. Mengelberg was the very first conductor who conducted for Rachmaninoff when he played this music. I once asked Mr. Rachmaninoff, what's the hardest piece for piano? And at that time he said, well, maybe the Feuillet of Liszt. And so we bought the music on the way back home, and I started learning it. And I learned it, you know, an hour a day. I learned how to do it, period. Question is, can you create this fluttery sound? It's a very special sound. And if you can create that fluttery sound and play all the notes, you're doing it all right. That piece, one time, I picked up the phone in New York, and Mr. Horowitz said, I met you in Berlin one time, and I want you to come over to my house and play Feuillet. Well, this was a piece that I had practicing. I said, I'm out of practice. I haven't touched that. He said, yeah, you can still play that. So here, I played it for him. It wasn't in the greatest of shape. He said, I use a different fingering. He said, but yours is good. And then he said, do you play canasta?
You were fortunate that you had the chance to go and study in Europe as a young child. I think you went at 5 years old, did you, to Paris? And you met?
I had already gone to Philadelphia and worked for a little while at Curtis Institute. And my father did not get along with Madame Vengerova, and that didn't go over too well. He thought that Mr. Hoffman would actually be there to teach me, but he was a busy concert pianist. He couldn't be there to teach a child. What I did get was something that I think of every single time I go on stage. That is something told to me by a fellow student quite a bit older than I was at the time, and that was Samuel Barber. He said, let me tell you something. He said, when you play music, you should play so that people perceive how beautiful the music is, not how well you play. And that is the most important thing I ever got from Curtis.
That's beautiful.
Because it stays with me, and it's something that I live with, that I try to instill into my students. I mean, I was 5 years old.